For me.
Welcome back, everybody. Hello, Jamie. Hello, Erik.
Hi, Lisa. Erik says hi to everybody. Erik just wanted to kind of say something first before we begin. Take 22.
I know. We've had all sorts of problems with me. The problem was me. All right, so today we're going to talk about ADHD. Some people call it ADD, but it's really attention deficit disorder with hyperactivity. That's what we think it is now. We don't think there's a regular ADD. So, Erik, can you tell me the most common spiritual cause and what the soul is trying to pretty much tell us? Usually these diseases, like I said before, is our way, energetically, our soul, trying to tell us to change something.
Isn't it so sad? You can't just have regular ADD anymore. You can't be reg on this. You got to be hyper.
Yeah, well, they say that in ADD, it's because in those cases, society has kind of like whipped them down so that they don't tolerate the hyperactivity. So a parent or whatever may just punish it out of them, that hyperactivity.
He says, Mom, he has his hands like in prayer position. Thank you for not overly punishing me for my ADHD.
No,
Did you want to know what the definition is?
What?
He leans back and points at himself.
Well, you were in timeout, the timeout chair, the black timeout chair enough. I didn't have to punish you anymore. That was for other things, though. So, is it really a disorder, or could it be that the child is just not grounded? Really, let's start with that.
Oh, he said, if you look at a child's energy that really has this disorder, you'll find that the energy doesn't resonate around their feet whatsoever. They have energy from like their ankles up, but their feet are just dismembered.
Ooh, that's awful. So it's not really a disorder, so to speak. Maybe it's just society is disorder, and that society can't accommodate these free spirits.
I totally agree with that. They cannot accommodate to these spirits. He goes, here we have a group of kinetic learners. They're supposed to be doers. They're supposed to change the world on its side, and we don't allow them. We praise thinkers. We praise patience. We don't praise huge amounts of force, activity. We think that that's a bit chaos. Slow down, think about it, sleep on it before you make a decision. Right? And so we have this group of people coming in that don't need to sleep on it. They know right away they don't want to do it. They know right away they don't want to learn it that way. Okay, so then they don't fit in. So then they have a problem.
They're labeled impulsive.
Yes. And he says, but this is the way that they gather information. Why can't we just have a school directly teaching ADHD? Wouldn't that be amazing? And also, it's about needing a different nutritional plate. Different nutritional plate. Like a palate? He's like, no, Jamie, a plate. Tell me more. He says that they burn protein. He says, think of it like Atkins diet. Not to really praise that specific diet, but that one that has all like the meats and the proteins and no carbs, no sugars, no nothing like that. These kids run off the Atkins diet. And so if you imbalance them and give them more sugar, more carbohydrates, it burns into a frenzy, and their brain takes it on as bursts of energy that they can't organize or control, and so it comes out physically because they're kinetic learners.
So it really doesn't, it just doesn't seem like this disorder is a way of trying to signal that child or that adult to making a change. It's just the nature of that spirit.
It is an evolution of people as we see it today. A lot of people will say that this disorder came up because of pollution or chemical or some people say that it is it's mislabeled and it's just an overactive child. Because I full on believe that only a very small percentage of ADHD people need to be on medication. They really need to be taught how to feed themselves and how to exert physical physical energy to the point of exhaustion. And he says, we don't really train our kids to be athletes, right? Most of us just put them on a league to play, learn team effort, learn to communicate. But really, these ADHD kids need to be physically exhausted. They have to push their body to a limit. In fact, they're really rooted to the physical body. They're just not rooted into the life, into the environment and surroundings, because they're not giving them ways to do it.
Well, I know they do need to run around because I experienced that in my own house. I remember you and your brother, Erik. God, your ADD. Wow. You would be running around the house with your whitey-tighties on your hair and this big sack of rolled up socks and have war games with your brother. I remember my neighbor came over to drop his kid off, which probably was a mistake, and he said, Elisa, I bet there's a whole chapter in your parenting book for this. And there should have been. But so give us at least one thing that a parent can do, an exercise, perhaps a grounding exercise or something that would help this child be accommodated by society.
I totally got it. Number one, physical exertion to the point of exhaustion, whether it's swimming, because that's great breathing exercise, whether it's running, whether it's kickboxing, I don't care. Find out what they like to do. In fact, they'll probably like 3 different things to do.
Yeah.
It's way more important for them to be physically exhausted every day than actually sit down and do their homework. Second thing, energetically, what I would do, any kind of polarity techniques, where you're hooking up kind of the positive energy in the body to the negative energy. He said, you as a parent can learn how to do that. Reiki is a little too calming. You remember, we don't really need to calm them down because that's not how they're wired. We need to shock them. It's kind of like what polarity does. That is, polarity doesn't shock people. Don't say it like that.
Bzzz, like sticking your finger in an electric socket.
It does. It does. You act like jumper cables, moving the energy through your body, so you run it quicker and faster. But it won't physically shock you.
Well, Jamie, where can they find out more about different polarity techniques?
Oh gosh, all online. They have wonderful books. It's very easy. The polarity holds, and they're wonderful. They feel great, easy to follow. Trust me.
Any specific grounding exercises?
Hey, we actually did one at the Channeling Erik weekend in Atlanta.
The rocking, I know. I missed that one. I had to go get my flight. But so and grounding, right? Making them aware of where their feet are. That helps too? Getting them barefooted in grass and things like that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And anything that gets them closer to nature. Building a tree house, having an underground playroom, whatever it is.
Okay.
Water. Think of the elements.
All right.
These people need to be near the elements.
Okay. Well, Erik, you liked fire. I remember that. Yeah, we burned up some things in our day. All right, well, let's go on to another, well, I hate to call them diseases or disorders, but why don't we talk about cancer?
He said, okay. He's acting up, so I'm trying not to giggle.
That's changing gears a lot, I know.
Cancer. He said, what kind of cancer?
Well, in general,
has a different
I know, but I can't go through all of them.
Crazy. He says that's like, he just goes, okay, go ahead, ask your question.
Well, there's got to be a common thread.
What, that the specific cell is diseased and it can no longer function the way that it needs to.
No, for example, are these people that bottle up their emotions or bottle up anger, whatever?
Mom, there's no common thread to different kinds of cancers. The only common thread is that the cell is misbehaving and turning over and not working right, and then he's getting up in front of the camera and he's trying to yell that cannabis will work for that.
Yeah, CBD oil.
CBD oil.
There's already been lots of studies, particularly with glioblastoma multiforme, so brain cancer.
It's incredible.
Yeah. All right, well, let's take one then. What about breast cancer? I'm very disappointed that we couldn't just just digest this or distill this to one
He said,
cause,
yeah,
but
we can't because each cancer has its own identity. Like the breast cancer, he goes, you had to choose breast cancer.
sorry.
The breastises, that's how he did it. The
Yeah.
breastises. They are beautiful, they are lovely, and they feed the babies.
Mm-hmm.
He says they're a nurturing element, and it's an intimate sexual part of a woman's body. And when cancer is there, it's basically a very huge sign that says you're not nurturing yourself.
Mm.
He goes, period. That's what that one's about.
Okay. Well, is there any approaches to this beside cannabis that,
My favorite, he says.
yeah, I know, that would target this inability to nurture self?
Oh gosh, he said, you need to hook up with a life coach,
Mm-hmm.
with a therapist, and sit down and say, all right, what am I not doing to myself? How am I not loving myself? Or why am I choosing not to? Most of the time you'll find that it's related to family, what you're afraid to say to your family or afraid to give to your family for fear of judgment or being not good enough, he says, which is a personal judgment that only you place on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start addressing these and handling these, you'll notice that if you have the beginning stages of cancer, using this treatment along with energy healing, you can eliminate the cancer. You really can. He says if you have a fast-growing or quick cancer, he says, I would do cannabis. He likes to say cannabis. CBD, Eric. CBDs.
Cannabinoids, blah, blah. They're all fun things to say. Cannabinoids. I love that. All right, so it seems like a lot of this is related to emotional honesty with self and with others, then.
Amen.
That's your favorite subject. All right, anything else on breast cancer?
No, so it's very straightforward. And he said you can look at the cancer of anything and everything. Your eye, what are you really not looking at? I mean, they can be pretty darn explanatory, right?
Yeah.
Once.
Yeah. All right, that's interesting. Well, I think maybe what we'll do over time is talk about each type of cancer and get more information about that. And they're all cured by cannabis. There we go. All right, well, thank you, Erik. Thank you, Jamie.
You're very welcome. Erik says, of course, Mother.
Of course. This has been very illuminating. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure you visit Jamie's site, withloveandlight.com.
Thank you. And definitely check out the blog, channelingerik.com. And remember, Erik is spelled with a K, E-R-I-K.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Erik's saying bye, he's blowing kisses, and Neil says, punch you later.